Welcome back to the Moneybag 73 channel. I'm joined once again with Robert Kiviat. He's joined us to give us an update on this documentary that's actually finally happening. I can't believe it. It's happening, and it's not going to be about misremembering. It's going to be about the evidence, which is just so exciting to think about and talk about. So welcome back, Bob. I'm glad you came back today and to give us an update on what's happening with the feature film.
As you know, Evan, I consider you to be among the most knowledgeable and thoughtful, really, about the Mandela Effect. But everything you just said is like a producer's kind of dream day. Everything kind of came together today, both in terms of the investment pool. We got organized in a very serious way. And more importantly, we can now, with a certain degree of certainty in this business of Hollywood, sometimes we don't want to say that too often, but it looks like we're going to be shooting officially in December, which means start of production December. With any luck, if everything, knock wood, goes well, this could be a mid 2023, maybe fall 2023 release. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what 1091 Screen Media, I'm sure, would love to see. And that would just begin things for us. So starting with December, we are going to try to shoot, as I was telling you before, Evan, off camera. We're going to try to shoot some of the experts first. We have in our sights, we have Michio Kaku, who, by the way, has become an extremely knowledgeable and, just an expert in television production. But years ago, I had him in one of my Fox Network specials about ghosts caught on tape, allegedly, believe it or not. And Michio Kaku was one of our star interviews. And I had to convince Michio when he was in New York at the college he teaches at, that don't worry, we'll handle this perfectly. You won't in any way be embarrassed. And he was a star. He actually looked at 3 videos, which we know of all the ghostly material, there's probably only a sliver of interesting material on video that's even worth journalistically talking about. And he looked at the 3 and he was dazzled by 2 of them, and it really made the show. So now I'm going to go back to Michio and say, Michio, I helped you get into television. You didn't want to go. I kind of dragged you in, and now you've got this great career. Please be interviewed by us for the Mandela Effect and tell us, do you think the string theory has anything to do with this? Interdimensional, all the things people have been, thinking about possibilities of what's causing the Mandela Effect. And I think he's going to give us more if we're lucky enough to get the interview in December, I hope, because I'm planning to go to New York on the East Coast in that period. And it's always nice to plan your interviews around other interviews. So it could be Michio and it could be several other people we'll talk about today. But we really want to start talking about who's going to be in the movie, the documentary feature, and why. And the why is the evidence. The residual evidence is what's going to drive this show, this movie. Will drive it.
Yeah, that's unfortunately that's not what gets talked about a lot of times in the mainstream, and so that's why I'm excited that the documentary is focused on the residual evidence. Correct? That's the main focus. Is that not?
Yeah, I can't help but comment on what you just said. What I've seen, and my people who are working with me on the show already have seen here at the production company, is that the media has covered it like a phenomenon that is in the brain, that we all seem to have these different memories, right? And no one is digging into the residual evidence because, unfortunately, as we find out in a lot of mysteries, Evan, journalists are just dumb. They don't, number one, have the interest. There's a reason I say dumb. They're not intelligent people. They're dumb on the subject they're covering, okay? A great line is Ernest Hemingway years ago. Ernest Hemingway, the famous novelist, right? He was a journalist first. And this struck me when I was learning my journalism craft. He said when he was a journalist, he learned this. You interview someone only when you are as knowledgeable as the person you're interviewing about what you're talking about. If you're going to interview a doctor about heart surgery, you better study heart surgery. If you're going to interview a doctor, when I did a story for Omni magazine years ago, for the face on Mars that everybody was talking about, NASA pictures of face. I had to study the optics of the camera they were planning on shooting with. That's how detailed I had to get to. Not only do I have to study all the theories about why Mars is made the way it is and landforms look like they do, I have to study the optical camera issues to be able to talk to the guy who made the camera, Dr. Michael Malin, and he's in charge now of all Mars research. So I had to be like, or photography, at least from orbital satellites. So I'm like the guy, the one journalist who understands Hemingway's point. You interview someone when you know as much as they know. It's hard to do. You can't become quite that. So these journalists doing a short story or entertainment producers on the Mandela Effect, they don't dig into it. They don't think there's any residual. They probably don't even know there's what residual evidence even is. They probably don't even know the term. Not good.
Well, unfortunately, the articles I've seen, like Snopes, or you pointed out the Rational Wiki, they just go along with, everyone misremembers things. People aren't perfect. They make mistakes. Yeah, of course, we all make mistakes. But then they go to this, they'll talk about most people can't remember what they ate for dinner last Tuesday night. Or eyewitness testimony. People will see a car crash and it'll be different for you and it'll be different for him.
Right.
That doesn't really have much to do with what we're talking about with the Mandela Effect. The Mandela Effect is lifelong memories in many cases. Something you've seen 1,000 times. It's not a car crash the other night.
Just one. Let's just choose one as an example of why the Ernest Hemingway comment is so important in our world today. Okay, if journalists don't really study what they're talking about, they're as layman as the person reading the article, or the piece they're doing on television or whatever. They're not getting a sifted journalistic review, or whatever they're talking about, right? So let's just talk about one Mandela Effect right off the top, okay? Luke, I am your father. Not only do we have a plethora of pop culture repeating, but we have Lucasfilms puts out an ornament of Darth Vader, and you essentially press the button, Luke, I am your father. Why would a ornament try to just play up the misremembering on their ornament? So I have to go interview George Lucas now and go, George, in a perfect world, hey, George, why would you have the audio be the misremembering of Luke, I am your father line, then the line? Why'd you do that? And watch him react.
Right.
To see what he says. Because you only have one option now. Only one. If it's not something edited history, right? They actually plan to use the oft repeated, misremembered scene from the movie Empire Strikes Back. Why would you do that?
It was more popular.
Hold on. That alone could have been found easily by one of these writers, just one. Hey, we don't know if it's more than misremembering, but there's one interesting example. At least that's just one. There's many we know. I have a video I'm going to show you. We've not really had a chance to really get into all the details yet, but there's a video of a guy who found an incredible merchandising of Sex in the City. Sex in the City, elements. I forgot what they were. I remember them being fairly female related, because it's like more of a female skewing show. Right. Some men watch it. I watched it with my ex. Hey, I can't wait for Sex in the City to come on. I'm so excited. But if my girlfriend or wife at the time was like watching, I'd watch. I'm from New York. I probably was in New York watching. So what year to come out? No, I probably wasn't in New York, but I guess
mid-90s.
I was in New York. Fine. I was in New York. I came here in 92. So maybe I was watching with my women in here, right? The people I've been with here. But all I'm saying to you is it's not difficult to find the residual evidence claim. All they had to do was add. So the question I ask you, Evan, is why do you think journalists never mentioned residual evidence or insert evidence we'll talk about later? Why? They didn't know, I guess, right? Didn't care, didn't know.
That perhaps is what's happening, or they did know, but
Aha.
it would confuse their story of people don't remember things correctly. But it just would, they wouldn't be able to write the article they wrote, if they had mentioned these things that are like make you raise an eyebrow.
Now
a
wait,
minute.
see now that's
Why? There's books. There's books that came out around the time Empire Strikes Back came out that say, "Luke, I am your father." In the book, we're talking books from 30 years ago.
And then, of course, you have that entire thing you mentioned about all right, so here are the people we want for sure, right? I mentioned Michio Keiko because it's a little homage to my past, and I want to see if he'll remember that he kind of owes me that favor. But we'll see. He seems to be very willing to be in shows, we hope. The people on the other side of the country, like Gordy Rose. Here's a guy who gives a TED conference about the quantum computer. And Evan, I know how you feel, so I'm not saying CERN caused it or the quantum computer caused it. We'll look into that.
No, I don't. It's on the table for me. It's just,
all right. I'm glad you said it because Gordy Rose, the guy who was behind the quantum computer in the mid 2010s to 2013, 20, or was it like 2013, 2014, that period, he was out there telling everyone, and especially at the TED conference, all you got to do is Gordy Rose, TED conference, 20 minutes. He's there saying, we believe we'll be able to take information from one dimension and pull it into this dimension. Just a piece. What a perfect example to describe the Mandela Effect to many people. So if Gordy Rose is in Canada, by Vancouver still, we hope, then I'll be going to see him. And once we get a feeling for what the scientific community is saying a little bit, then we're going to go right into the Tom Hankses, the Sally Fields, the James Earl Joneses, maybe the Mark Hamills, definitely the people we're looking at the cases you want to talk about. And I really want to get into cases that are in this other area we're talking today in the last few days about, these insert histories. Black Tom Island, no, does not exist in a New Yorker growing up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And today, I'm sorry, that's me. No. I've explained it to you many times now. I was into World War I, into World War II heavily in high school. Was a journalist in classes in high school, okay? Totally interested in all history dealing with how we got into wars, what happened, and a huge studier of New York itself. I am like a New Yorker, people make fun of me even hear my accent today, I'm a New Yorker living in California. If you told me Black Tom Island happened ever in my life, I would say to you, I have to now go back to Long Island, New York, find my old history teachers, find we used to call it social studies. I have to find these people and go, how the hell did you leave out Black Tom Island? How? And they're going to go like, what? Black what?
They're going to say what? Black what?
I can't wait. There might be one interview in the movie, Evan, one with someone from my past, like a professor at college or high school. And I go, how could you leave out Black Tom Island? And they go, what? Black what? And they're like a history professor, and they're this or that. I told you also on the phone recently, I had a class in college in New York, upstate New York, SUNY Brockport College. Shout out, okay? Graduated from there, right? So ran my college paper, the whole thing, a history teacher forced me to become editor of my college paper because he thought I was on top of my history, right? Dr. O'Brien, 20th century America. What happened to Black Tom Island in our class? Wait, that's history, right? Go a step further. Insert history. The 1939 Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden in New York. Mandela Effect or not, insert edit of history or not, let me tell you something. I took a class at college called Nazi Germany. 400 level class studying Nazi Germany. If Dr. Buchholz is listening, how did you leave out the 1939 Madison Square Garden rally where they look like, Evan, as you pointed out, They look like it could be Germany in 1939. The
Oh, yeah,
flags,
totally.
everything, but there's the American flag right next to like the Nazi flag.
George Washington, the American flags hanging, and then the swastika, like all mixed together in Madison Square Garden.
So
Like, what?
as you're getting from me today, whether it's the Mandela Effect of Sally Field explaining, no, I did never said you like me or really, really like me. I'll cut right to the thing I sent you last night of Robin Williams just doing a short little thing. And he says the line in a quick little ramble. He goes, you like me, you really, really like me. Who's going to make the misremembering so natural like that? And then, of course, we know we've never seen, I'll say to Sally, we'll watch her face if we get her, and I'm praying she'll do this. Sally, please, I love Flying Nun. I love Gidget. I grew up on you. Come on. I thought you're kind of cute, actually. As a kid, here's the thing. Sally, even if you never said you like me, you really, really like me, how come everyone thinks you did? And there's not one person who says you like me right now. Not one. You don't see one remembering going, I just love when Sally said, you like me right now. I mean,
Right.
Sally, come on.
Who says that?
Good. So what I'm saying to you, Evan, the movie is going to be so informative that way that we're not just saying these people are in the Mandela Effect itself, and we're going to address it with them and ask them, how did this happen? The people, again, Field of Dreams. With James Earl Jones, you get a double whammy. You get Darth Vader and you get Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
If you built it, they will come. So James is like worth the trip, right? James is going to be like, I just love that one clip, by the way, from the movie, from the TV show, 2.5 Men, where he's walking with that other character, not Sheen, the other guy, forgot his name,
Right.
the actor, and he's walking with him and in some kind of setting, it's like a news setting, and he walks in and James Earl Jones is walking, and he goes, so what do you want from me? The CNN line, this is CNN, or Luca, I'm your father, which one do you want?
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
why would he? I mean, James Earl Jones is covered in so many angles that in terms of a residual evidence, James Earl Jones is like the residual man. He's like Mr. Residual, right? So you want to get him on camera, but you also want to get, the maker of the movie in every way, who of course you love, you put together what I believe to be the best, that you said you were searching for many years for Kevin Costner. You wanted to know what he thought about this. Well, you got a clip, which you showed us, which I really appreciate, was Kevin Costner kind of reminiscing over it, how important a liar it was.
I was searching for over 6 years to hear Kevin say, if you build it, they will come. I knew I'd find it. I finally found it. And in the documentary that he was being interviewed for, I showed you the clip. He says, if you build it, they will come, has become whatever in our culture. He explains what it means to him.
Absolutely.
But he says it. The fact that he doesn't say, like back to what you were saying about people, how come you don't hear anyone saying that,
you
not
like
right
me
now,
right
but
now.
yeah. How come you never hear anyone say that?
Nowhere.
It's just like the Mr. Rogers. I've asked like 10 people to sing the song, Mr. Rogers song. Not one person sings it right. If it's just misremembering, you would expect to have at least one person sing the song, It's a Beautiful Day in This Neighborhood, but nobody says this. No, but that's what he said for 30 years coming through the door. But no one says it.
My thing with you, Evan, has always been, my thing with you has always been residual evidence, and there are levels of residual evidence, right? There are levels of one word, like life is like a box of chocolate, or life was like a box of chocolate. Those are going to be harder to convince a jury viewer out there who doesn't believe this is a fact, who believes it's basically misremembering. And they'll go, that's one word. Okay, well, whatever. And even recently, I noticed that I think I told you earlier, if you go to YouTube, where a lot of the Mandela effects have been studied heavily, I assume you go to TikTok, the same thing. When you get that closed captioning algorithm, I guess, I don't know if it's an algorithm. I want to make sure I watch what I'm saying here. Because I know how closed captioning is done in television and film, and it's not done with an algorithm. Okay, exactly. All right. There are people involved, okay, in putting those words up on your screen just so you're aware, okay? With YouTube, I've seen so many mistyping. So you can't really trust is or was. At one point a few months ago, I think in our research, I was telling you at my company, we were looking at YouTube was like on one particular reel we put together of all the people that were at award shows saying sex in the city, sex in the city, sex in the city, sex in the city. The YouTube program was picking up the word sex in the city 90% of the time. 90, 95. We actually, like you do your calibrations of what people say. They remember, don't remember, your little kind
like
of thing.
dislike comparison.
Yeah. This was like our version of it was we wanted to see how many times did it pick up in, but mostly all the time, by the way, almost all. But then most recently, we started looking at other videos totally unrelated to the Mandela Effect, and we noticed that it makes a lot of mistakes. So I don't know if we can actually trust that, and we're going to find out what that means. We want to get a little better audio check. These are Donald Trump, Simon Cowell, major people in the industry saying sex in the city, sex in the city, sex in the city. Even the people being interviewed from the movie and show, Nixon, Sarah Jessica Parker, all these people sitting there talking about the movie coming out. Sex in the city, sex in the city. So we want to make a kind of like scientific analysis here. Like, are they saying sex in the city or are they saying sex and the city? How much and why? And we're not going to waste, too much time on it, but we're going to make sure people realize we are covering that angle too. We're not accepting anything. The residual evidence is going to be studied heavily.
That's great to hear. That's, I'm sure, going to make a lot of people in the YouTube community happy because we haven't gotten that. We haven't gotten an actual in-depth study into the Mandela Effect, which it sounds like you want to dig into all these different
the other
changes. People say changes.
But you brought up a big point here. I couldn't wait to jump in. I was like, didn't want to cut you off. The Mandela Effect community, that's right. The Mandela Effect YouTuber community is what convinced me, the producer, the journalist, to want to even do this in 2016. So as I said in a previous, I think in the other stream, I mentioned I had brought this to the attention of a company. We were going to take it to Netflix together, right? So 2016, my interest was generated 100% by YouTubers. 100%, not 99, 100% of interest generated by YouTubers trying to get to the bottom of this, figure out what it was. I had a reason to believe in the future it would be better to pitch it another time. So I moved on. A reason we won't get into again today. Two women, essentially, at a pitch meeting, did not even know what the Mandela Effect was, and they were like 30 years old. I was like, oh, God, that's not good. Maybe it wasn't quite big enough. I might have made a mistake there. I think I could have done it earlier. But the community that is known as the YouTube community, anybody who says there is not a Mandela Effect YouTube community or Mandela Effect community overall of interested researchers who are, maybe we used to call them armchair researchers or whatever. Maybe they're not paid by a big company like Fox Network or NBC or Omni Magazine, whoever I've worked for. But I got to tell you, you guys have brought this to light. Now it's gone over to TikTok. Anybody who says otherwise not only is a fool, is being disingenuous. They're not being honest. I've noticed, not only through your help, I've seen some from you, where someone will do a YouTube video about a mystery they want to do, like the simulation. And they pull in the Mandela Effect to kind of help their story. When I was telling you on the phone recently, it should be the Mandela Effect is pulling in the simulation. That's what I'm going to do. As one of the causes of Mandela Effect, is Elon Musk correct? Is this some kind of like overlord child, even in some, crazy. They talk about maybe we are living in a simulation on a computer of some alien child having fun watching us run around, act crazily. There are people who make these comments. That is so far beyond my level of comprehension that I'm not really feeling this right now, and I'm an avatar of some kind and whatever. But if you want to say we're living in a simulation, what evidence would there be of that? Someone editing our reality. And that's what we sort of see. So we're not doing a show about the simulation. We're saying that if people think there's evidence of a simulation, they better look at the Mandela Effect then first. And then we can get into like, is simulation even a reality? That's a different world for me.
It's a whole another thing, yeah.
But I think it's important to say, are we dealing with a simulation? Are we dealing with a CERN particle collider? Are we dealing with a quantum computer? Are we dealing with God? Are we dealing with demonic forces? Is this predicted in the Bible? Is this a sign of the end times? These are all things people are thinking about. So of course we're going to delve into it. But like all my other shows people can watch on Amazon or wherever my shows exist now, you can see clearly my goal is to show the evidence, tell the story about what people who are most knowledgeable about believe, and try to come to some conclusion. Do our best, and move on. So we can't really, in television or film, solve something necessarily, but we're going to move the ball up the field, no doubt. We'll move it up.
Right. No, I don't see how you're going to come to a conclusion of how and why, but it's definitely it's going to be a great thing to have something that's been produced that makes it real hard to say, no, it's just misremembering. No, there's actually something going on here. Like a lot of us feel like we're in a different place now. There's so many. Like, I get angry when people say, you're just misremembering, Evan, or people don't have perfect memories, all that. I feel like I'm in a different place. I look at the map. And the continents are all in different places. Italy's all messed up. Sicily, we've talked about, your ancestors are from Italy, right? We've talked about this.
I couldn't believe I think I mentioned to you that at the time that the Mandela Effect kind of was gaining steam in my world, in my purview, this flat earth thing was happening. And I'm like, what's that all about? I never even heard of anyone making any kind of a prima facie case that we're living on a flat earth where we never went into space, that Werner von Braun and all those guys that were shooting up rockets in Germany, they were realizing, they had a camera on there and they realized, oh my God, we're living on a flat earth and there's nothing. So then all of NASA's fake. Forget the moon landing. All of NASA's fake. When a rocket goes up, it's really going straight into the ocean. It can't go up into the dome because it's the dome. God knows what's going to happen. So I started looking at this weird thing. And then I saw a map of Italy and I couldn't believe it. Why? Well, I'm a huge Italian food guy. I think I'm legally 1/4 Sicilian. I'm legally 1/4 Sicilian. That's true. My genes are 1/4 Sicilian. Okay. My grandfather, my mom's father, 100% Sicilian. Okay. So I used to go to Italian restaurants from the moment I could breathe. They would sit me down like I do with my kids. 6 months old, sitting in a chair, I'm cutting the pizza up into small little pieces. In the most restaurants in New York, and even some here in California, they try to copy this with the checkered red and white, typical Godfather kind of red and white tablecloth, and the menu, paper menu. Italy, Sicily, Corsica, they're all right there. Italy never was touching Sicily. I mean, ever. There was never, no. There was no, like, you could walk almost and swim. Like, are you kidding me? It was always way to the left and a little lower. You couldn't kick it. The boot didn't kick it. So I forgot about the flat earth thing, and I'm just going, what is that? And that got me more into the Mandela Effect. When I saw that, I was like, wow. And I even went to Italy in 2018 with my girlfriend, and I was like, how do we get to Sicily? So we were going to go to Sicily, which we did, but we didn't have a chance to do the old go to that spot and see. What is that? I have to verify that myself, Evan. I have to go and see that Italy and Sicily are like joined. I have to see that to believe that.
Well,
I think it's a
I
meme
think
on
there's like a mile between them now. But I would have said there was 50 or 100 miles.
How about you have to take an amphibious boat like Patton did, a boat to get to Sicily and Italy to have an attack or any kind of a war issue going on. And I was very involved in World War II footage, and I remember distinctly you had a plan. In fact, I'm going to look into it more for the movie we're doing. I'm going to try to see how Patton described the attack. It was so different in my world. That means movies I've watched were Mandela, if you will. I'd have to go find the old movies I watched as a kid after school on TV in New York. This is my crazy Mandela effect, by the way. It's crazy for me. Of all the land ones, what are the land ones? Which are the ones that really impact you? Because that's one of mine. Australia, that's another one.
Australia, huge for me. It was down under. Yeah, it's not down under anymore.
I had teachers go up, Evan. I go up on the board and go, you can see on the map here how way down Australia is. People were worried about some of these prisoners like coming back, and they want to get people away from where they are. So if
they could practically swim to Papua New Guinea. It's like right above Australia.
Great example of where those little other land areas are in relation to Australia before we even get into New Zealand. That's a whole nother thing. So these are Mandela effects, by the way, that don't necessarily have the residual evidence we want. But of course, people, know about the movie, which is a very weird movie because it's kind of dear to my particular heart for certain reasons. Dazed and Confused, the old movie, where they have a globe there, and the globe clearly has a landmass there. It's not a label. It's not a label for the globe company. Old debunkers have come out going, can't be a Mandela effect. It's not a change thing. Globes used to have a label for who made the globe, the globe company.
Right, like a curly Q thing around it.
Yeah, that looked like a landmass. Okay, so that we have to do. There's some more analysis coming here, Evan. We're going to get the actual movie, and we're going to zoom in, digitally enhance what that says, if it is any writing on that. I think we've already concluded so far for the movie. It's going to be in, and we're going to look at it with a very analytical thing, because we know there's another example, or two at least, in the show Friends. There's a moment in another globe where, again, you see that landmass. So these are the residuals that other people don't look into. And this is the tip of the iceberg. We'd be here for 9 hours talking about the residuals we could get into, but I'll leave a little suspense. Someone told me recently, a very bright lady, she told me, Bob, she called me Bobby, don't tell too much because there's so much to get into. People blow their minds in a way, and maybe give away a little bit of where we're going, because I want people to come and watch. Right.
Some of my favorite residuals for the globe is South America not being where I recall.
Another one
halfway under North America, right?
When did South America move to the right, as if they're not even in our?
No, it's not even below South America anymore. It's to the right of it. It's below it, but it's not. It's shifted over 1,500 miles or something.
So I meant South America in relation to North America has moved to, if you're looking at it to the right.
Correct.
So much so that
1,500 miles. It
worries me. The first time I saw that, it actually worried me for a minute. The only reaction I could have, Evan, was sheer worry. How could that be? Did it move? Are we gradually seeing plate tectonics occurring? My journalism is all getting, all my different areas of knowledge. I'm thinking about, is that plate tectonics? I mean, what? So I don't know if you know this, but there's a claim made by a lot of people that our map system is all screwed up, and you can't trust that. But what about Google Earth? Isn't Google Earth able to verify where South America is?
There's all these different map projections, right? But what I always say to those people is, where's the maps I learned from? Where's the maps I grew up with? Where's the globe that I learned from where it was
That's what I
underneath,
mean.
not over here. It was underneath North America.
So what else you got?
Where's the map I learned from? They don't exist.
Let's stay on residual evidence of the Earth. What else you got? Let's see. I'll get my reaction because I know you want to hit me with a couple, and I know what order you want. But if you want to just go with a couple of these, I'm ready to go.
I mean, we could talk a little geography real quick if you want. I mean, I like.
Just wing it. We're here. We're here.
Okay. There's a 1950s Oldsmobile. That the logo is North and South America, the way I remember, not how you see it now. The way I remember is their logo.
Let me get my researcher, Manny. Manny, he's not here. we need to follow with the Evan research. So wait a minute.
No,
we have to get this.
Whenever you want to discuss I've done lots of.
So there's a residual. Let me get this for everyone hearing today and listening and watching. You're saying, so I'm clear, Evan. There is a piece of residual evidence on a license plate that shows the right placement of North and South America.
Closer to how I remember. Yeah. It's an emblem on the car. It's an
I've
emblem on the hood or whatever.
Now, I have personally seen many since I developed my Mandela Effect movie doc here, but I must tell you, I don't know whether to trust it because there are these map people that are claiming that different maps under different time frames have been emphasized. But there's an old movie, a show actually, not old, so old, was Martin Sheen in it, The President, The West Wing, where they're actually talking about the map and it doesn't look right. And they're analyzing. We'll find that scene. Again, it's a drama, so you can't, dramatic shows you can't use as, you know what I mean? It's, for instance, the one I think you gave me recently to look into, and if I'm wrong, my apologies. But it's one you would have liked, I'm sure. It was in the movie, what show was it? I'm trying to think of it. We'll come back maybe in a minute. I have to think about this because so many I want to talk about today. But this one clearly indicated something as a residual piece of evidence that literally was written into a show that could not have been made up. They had to get it from the actual timeline of what that issue was. Before we get off today, I'll remember it, I think, but there's a lot in my brain right now. But it's one where clearly they never could have misremembered it. They had to go get the information from a researcher at the show, and they put that in, and it is a Mandela Effect to die for. It's a classic. I'll find it later. Yeah. Or if not, maybe we'll type it in.
If you remember before we're done, definitely bring it up.
Yeah, because by the way, again, it's not my main area as the writer of the show. It's not my main area of emphasis because there's going to be people out there that are going to say, it was a drama. They were rushing around. They probably didn't check, and they probably just went with what they top of their head, and boom. It wasn't like that. This one was not like that, and there are many like that. You know many. And we can go on front. So what do you want to focus on today? Because this is your thing, but I will say one more time, we are going after the interviews now. We're trying to book interviews in December. We have a little bit of room for some more investment, but it's kind of winding down now. And it's almost like if people really want to get involved, it's got to be like tomorrow, the next day. It can't be like into next week and the week after too much because we are getting into some limitations of what we can do with the investment potential. But I think people are going to kick themselves if they're not involved. They're going to.
You said you were working on something, some information along the lines of the investment, like a prospectus type.
Yeah, well, more for you, but I would say for everyone else, because we are moving forward.
So email you if anyone who's interested in participating financially, email you. There's still an opportunity.
We are willing to do a small. You'll see on the flyer that goes out with the investment potential. There's a little window for us to go less than the amount indicated for the packages, but we've limited that to like 1 or 2 people so far, and we're not going to do it again because we just think it kind of interferes with the full investment people that are coming in that see the huge opportunity. And I want to make sure people understand this. And I'm going to say it for you, Evan. I'm not going to give this to everybody, but because your particular viewership, your followers, your subscribers are really golden to me. So I want people to understand the money that we're raising to make this documentary is so cost effective because of my background in documentary on television and my ability, basically, and knowledge and people I know, that if we bring the movie in for the kind of money we're talking about, which is very, very economical, there's going to be like a windfall. Imagine numbers like, I hate to say these numbers because people will hold me to them, but you never know. You invest, let's say, a couple $100,000 and the revenues are $2 million. Get your head around that.
Right. Like a 20x
A lot of that,
or 10x.
there you go.
No, yeah.
The
10x potential.
the investor in your previous life, Evan, your investment, website, YouTube channels, knowledge and power, and so that you said it for other people, 20 times. So you invest in something, and your profit margin is umpteen times what you invested. Return on investment. That's what we're talking about. You get paid back your money, and then you get investment for the rest of the life of the movie. If we're using examples from the distribution company they gave me recently, and why they want to make these movies or more than one with me, is because I have the ability, one of the reasons I have the ability to do high quality at numbers that people can really digest easily. And then the revenue stream potentially for the mysteries are very popular right now in the streaming and theatrical world. We see theatrical has become streaming as much as theater. So imagine you say, I have a theatrical release. That's what we have. This is called a feature documentary. We have every reason to believe we're going to be in theaters. We're going to be in the theaters. So how many theaters? What kind of a run? So I'm producing for that level. But as we all know, and I saw recently someone speak about this, I really think it's informative for every investor in my movie and other things like I'm going to do. But the return on investment is huge, and it doesn't happen very often. And someone recently brought this up, and I'll say it in a nutshell. Quentin Tarantino, very major player. And in fact, we put him in our promotional reel, believe it or not. He's in there real briefly. Tarantino said recently on television, he said, people are watching movies at home now. It's just the way it is. But you can still bring people into your home, get a decent sized screen. He did it recently. He said, I did it myself. He said, I invite 6 people over to watch it. And it's great. And people are laughing. There's 6 people in the room. One guy might be laughing. One guy might be crying. And the idea is it's the communal experience. So you're still getting that theater experience. Now, as a TV guy coming into film, I like the blending. Now, a press release went out. It's going to be in everybody's kind of like deadline and online sites, and maybe even I may go on TV talking about the show. People have tend to have me on my shows or on their show when I'm doing my own movie or TV show. So I might be able to promote the Mandela Effect, fact or fiction. That's what we're calling it right now. And it comes off my TV names, so it's kind of got some history. And the press release indicates very clearly that there are some recent ones that have dazzled people. Jimmy Kimmel goes on, and I told you, Evan, about this. I mentioned this to you a few months ago, that a few months ago on CNN, this black comedian, he's sitting there with Don Lemon from CNN, and they're talking about his career and stuff. And he goes, for some reason, he just mentions Smokey the Bear. Smokey the Bear. No one bats an eyelash. No one says a word. I'm going, that's right. Smokey the Bear. Only you could prevent forest fires. I grew up with that one. That was the one I was worried about, the area of New York. I told one of the big investors today about this. He was like, absolutely. He's from New York. And he's like, Jimmy Kimmel on Halloween night, a few nights ago, said, I don't know. I'm dressed right now as Smokey the Bear. And I find out it's not Smokey the Bear. It's Smokey Bear. What? He goes, it shook me to the core, he says. I've been saying Smokey the Bear 50 years. Hold on. He goes, and it's just like saying Cedric the Entertainer is now Cedric Entertainer. It's ridiculous. He was like, but that reminds us of course, the James Corden, the doing the karaoke car thing, car karaoke, where he says he has, Julia Roberts. Initially, he has Gwen Stefani. Then they pick up Clooney. Then they pick up Julia Roberts, and they eventually start singing, "We are the champions." They do the first verse, and they come back to the ending, and they go, "Of the world, width of the world." And then Clooney goes, "We were about to belt it out. We were right there." He couldn't understand it. It was a real Mandela Effect caught live that nobody can explain. 4 people, all smart people. Come on. And by the way, just because I was into Queen as a kid a little bit, you don't think we would remember, by the way, oh, that was a cool thing they did at the end of their song. They just stopped it at the end. That was kind of cool and everything. There have been stadiums I've seen. Stadiums that used to be, "We are the champions and we will rock you." These were like the 2 songs you would see. I went to Shea Stadium in New York many times. We will rock you. And then eventually, sometime during the night, they get to the other one, we are, because, at one point the Mets were champion and it was like, 86 when I was watching. So all I know is this, you would have known about leaving off that ending. You would have known it. You would have talked about it. And then, Queen did it at the big, what was it? Live Aid. He waited. Of the world. He did it just like everybody would expect him to do it.
Right. And the deniers of the Mandela Effect, or that something strange is happening with the Mandela Effect, they'll say, "Oh, well, you're just remembering the live performance." I never went to a live performance. My memories of that song are on the radio as a kid and as a teenager and in my 20s. It was on the radio, and I never heard it just cut off, ever.
It didn't
Hundreds of times I heard it.
It never existed. If it existed, people would have been talking. That's why I always come back to the residual evidence analysis. Think of it this way. The guy who sings the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and by the way, shout out to Jacobian. Gotta have you in. Must have you in the documentary. Some of your style, your attitude, what you're trying to convey. Love your Britney Spears microphone analysis. How about your analysis of the Red Hot Chili Peppers? I mean, there's no doubt they sang the song, I believe it's called Under the Bridge, I believe it's called. Yeah. City of Angels. City of Angels means something, Evan. It's Los Angeles.
Right.
City of Angel will sound like an idiot.
Los Angeles in Spanish.
I was living
The
here
Angels.
I was here from New York, and I'm like, second I heard that song, I was like, I relate to that. I can feel that. City of Angels, I'm here. When you hear that song now on the radio record, it's weird. Now, they're touring right now. Guess what they say in the song? Angels.
Right.
No angel. So how could someone answer these Mandela effects, Evan? I want your theory. What is your theory tonight? What is it tonight? Whatever.
How they deny them?
Well, let's put it this way. Though we don't have a causal effect yet, we don't have a causal agent identified for sure. What's your feeling?
They're just not looking into it enough. They hear about Oscar Mayer. They hear about J.C. Penney. They hear about things. They say, oh, well, companies change their logo. They don't understand this isn't about companies changing any logos. They don't even understand the Mandela Effect.
Right.
So many people have heard about the Mandela Effect, and then they just knock it up. They just mark it up to, well, people make mistakes. I mean, come on, we're not perfect. We make mistakes. They don't have any idea what they're talking about. They haven't seen any of the evidence. Now, I don't know if it's, well, I think evidence is the best word. I mean, there's no way, see, because the whole phenomenon is based on memory. It's based on our memories. We can't go find, see, this is where I differ with some of the people in the community, because there's people who think they're going to find the Shazam movie. They're going to find the movie. They watched it. I remember it. I watched it. I remember the ending. I remember him winking at the camera and saying, that guy's good. Like
You
he's watching his
reminded
own
me.
comedies.
That was it. Hold on, that was it. It's amazing. You just nailed it. So in this one show, it's a fairly popular TV show. The woman, and I'll show you after the interview today, and we'll get it to your people. In the scene, the woman is on the computer, and in the computer, she's looking for the Shazam movie of 1996.
Well, 96 was Kazam with Shaquille O'Neal. So that's the other problem. People think we're confusing Shaquille O'Neal.
No. I have to go back a step. I want to verify this. I believe I might have misspoke. I believe it talks about Sinbad in it. I believe it's a full description. Blah, blah, blah. When was the Sinbad movie? If the Sinbad movie came out, when did it come out?
94. It's
Good.
when the Shazam should have come out.
I think we're looking at a blurb about it on the internet. Whether it's fake or not, I don't know whether they did it for the show only, but it was not, it's before the Mandela Effect was like a thing. And it was like a reference to the Shazam movie with Sinbad. I'll verify that.
I don't think I've seen what you're talking about.
But again, the problem is going to be it's in a dramatic show, and maybe they misremembered it, and maybe they just repeated the misremembering. And I don't think dramatic shows are ever going to be, unlike the Globes, that's a different story. But, writing in a line and scene, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. But Shazam is crazy because we were talking about the different aspects of the Mandela Effect that you have to think about doing this documentary. Things that have been inserted. Potentially. And going back to that, there's something I want to bring up about 9/11, and I'm going to screen share here. I got to show you something. So I think now would be the time we do that. But the insertions, like the possible insertions, maybe we just, missed them, but they're really odd that we didn't know about that 1939 rally, the Black Tom, and then this other thing I'm going to show you. And then you have all the changes, and then you have things that weren't inserted, they were removed, like the Shazam movie. And people say, oh, you're thinking about Shazam, you're thinking about Shaq, and you're confusing Shaq and Sinbad. Well, no, I'm not. I remember Shaquille O'Neal's movie coming out a couple years after Sinbad's Genie movie, thinking, well, he's kind of ripping off the Genie movie Sinbad just did, and they have different plots.
Even I remember that.
Plots. It's not. I'm confusing two actors. They're two movies. It's two separate movies. And so,
Sinbad's a good one. I got to be honest with you. Sinbad's one of those that I'm searching and searching. Maybe I'm hoping that what I mentioned before, maybe I'm overly excited about something I shouldn't be, but we're looking into all these things before we ever get going on the actual shooting of the movie. But I do think that we need to be focused on the residual evidence so much that it's because no one else really has, and that's important. And I think that is going to be the toughest thing to address with these celebrities, because if you say to people, there's an effect here that changed your name even, it gets weird at that point. You know?
I know. There was a late night show that Sally Fields was on, and I think it was, might have been Jimmy Kimmel. I think he said, there's people think you're Fields. She's just like, what's she going to say? I mean, she's always been Sally Fields.
I want to see that. I've never seen that.
Herself. Yeah, he asked about getting the name wrong. I'll send you that clip. There's a clip about her being asked about her name, that people remember her with an S. And they just kind of joke and play it off. I mean, what are you going to really do, though? It's like, oh, yeah, I remember I was Fields, and now I'm Field. I can't imagine she would say that.
How I'm going to get a 1 hour and 40-minute movie to cover all of this incredible Mandela Effect issue? That's going to be the challenge, Evan. Yeah, I can do an hour on Black Tom alone, as many people are doing. And by the way, let's just say this for Black Tom. Just at a very basic level, if you went through elementary school, junior high, and high school in New York in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and whatever, and you never heard of it before, and you're into this stuff, and teachers, and you talk, it's hard to understand. There's no conspiracy that could stop that. There's no, I saw one guy, well, it's a conspiracy to keep the truth of what happened.
Yeah. Hidden or blocked history. Like they blocked that part of history. They didn't want
How are you going to do that? Like I saw one guy try to imply, I think you know what I mean. He implied that, and all good, all interesting to think about, but it boggles the mind. Now, wait a second. Wilson, the president, Richard Wilson, wanted it kind of hush-hushed. So they kind of downplayed it. So people would just do very, very casual little stories about it. It was a huge explosion. People, you can't cover that up.
It was 5.5 on the Richter scale.
Allegedly, there was
hide that.
There was looting going on, and there all kinds
Even
of.
if it, do you agree with me, Bob? Even if it wasn't in all the newspapers and everything at the time, you would have told your kids, and they would have told their kids, and they would have told their kids.
Just last week, my mom, she's in Florida. She's in her 80s, very youngish for her age and all that stuff. I could talk to her about anything. Mom, you know the movie? Yeah, the Mandela Effect. How's it going? You getting ready to shoot and everything? Yep, getting ready to shoot. We're excited. Everything's coming together. Mom, what if I told you? Okay, hold on. What if I told you when you were growing up as a kid, 40s, 50s, 60s, you know, your whole life, your father came from Italy, came through Ellis Island, the whole thing, you know, that in 1916, there was an attack by German terrorists on an island near the Statue of Liberty. It blew up like everything. It knocked out all the windows in Manhattan. It hurt the Statue of Liberty to this point where we still can't even go into the thing she's holding.
The torch, yeah.
And this was a huge event. She goes, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah." I never heard of that. I said, "Mom," right? Never heard of it, right? Never heard of it. You don't think in the 1940s they would have been teaching that?
Yeah, it was the first attack on the homeland.
In the 50s. My mom would have been like, in grade school, it would have been like 1950. You know, I mean, mom's would have been she was 18 and 19 when parents got married in the 50s. So let's say she was in high school, like 52, 53. They're going to be talking about that shit. I mean, that's come on. It's like, it's fairly recent history at that point, right?
Yeah, 35 years earlier. Yeah.
Zero. So if I find one person that I grew up with, a known family, I'll let you know. So far, I got zeros. Zero. Not even a little, not even these YouTube videos, with all due respect to the YouTubers that I love, don't get me wrong. You got to stop over extrapolating, okay? Who knew what? Who posted the first video? Who found the first film? I will give it to whoever did a video in 2019, okay? Because that seems to be the Black Tom Island moment, that around 2018, there was nothing. And all of a sudden, 2019, and now it's everywhere.
Yeah, that's a whole nother part of the Mandela effect. Like all these things they seem to start coming into the reality, which I understand sounds totally crazy.
And Google, conspiracy theory, Google got involved, and they're blocking Black Tom for years. Then finally, a few little YouTube videos start coming out saying, what the hell? What the hell? This is the biggest Mandela effect ever. Okay. Unleash the Black Tom evidence. Boom, yeah, all the videos.
All the live footage. Live footage, Bob. You've seen the live footage.
The funniest of all, right, is this live footage. How the blank? How could you have quality footage like that in 1916? First of all, that doesn't even make sense to me. Some of the footage I'm looking at right now, I'm going, it's recreation. I don't even get it. As a TV film producer, I want you to know, when this two or three YouTubers start to showing, like, I don't get it, because when I was looking back in 2019, there was nothing. Now we have a potpourri of almost incredible evidence of it occurring. Back to what I said. Do you think my mom and people of the earlier generation, that would be really cool footage to be looking at in high school with the projectors? I mean, I'm flipping out.
Where was the footage? It was on a shelf for 80 years? I don't know, 90 years? Where was the footage?
There's a documentary. There's a documentary that I'm going to be talking to the producers about. It's called In Search of History. When did they get a hold of that? What? I don't even understand some of this stuff. And in fact, I'm not even sure that's the origin point But I do agree with a couple of YouTubers have showed this. I wonder if you can go back in the back time machine, whatever it's called,
The way back.
way back the
Way
time.
back, yeah.
What was available on the internet on Black Tom before the explosion of footage, photo articles? What was available first before that happened? You should have to see a progression, at least some kind of logical progression. And I don't know, this might be a test of the Mandela Effect linear time issues. We might be dealing with a whole nother level of time issues that only when we see it now does it appear in the past. Like quantum physics is involved in some way here.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of wacky.
Right. No, I was going to do a video on, I'm surprised it's not in my list of videos. I was going to do it on Black Tom because I researched it a lot. And there wasn't a lot. There were images. I didn't find any live footage. And there weren't many people talking about it. There weren't many YouTube videos to go look at. Now there's these two kids 7 years ago standing there on the Jersey Shore making a video. And there's all these new videos. I'm like, where'd all this come from?
Or how about 5 people died or 50 and up? How much is it? 5 died or 50 and up died? Even the numbers are like, do anyone get this straight? And that's just Black Tom alone. Now imagine you're trying to tell all the stories you want to tell in a 2-hour movie. It's going to be tough, but I'll do it. Do not worry.
Yeah, that's one thing I've been thinking about since I've been talking to you about this whole documentary. There's going to be a lot of people that are like, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? There's only like an hour and a half. I mean, this is such a huge topic.
I'm seeing a sequel here. I see a sequel in this. I do. I see, and it's happened with a few of my shows on Fox or NBC, where we talk about doing the sequel while we're making the first one. Fox, it happened. It almost happened at NBC. So I think in this case, it probably will be a sequel, at least one that will wrap up and add in the public's response to that's how big I think the Mandela Effect is potentially in the meaning of where we are. I'm calling it a global phenomenon, global mystery that needs to be answered. We need to know what the hell's going on. And let me tell you why, if I might just jump in here, Evan, if you don't mind me making this one comment.
No, sure, go ahead.
Let's say we do prove to a jury of our peers, whatever that means, in a courtroom. No, I mean in viewer court, audience court, that some things have definitely been edited. And we'll just call it the edited. They've been changed. Or they changed, however it occurred. I'll just say it for the record because I think it's a possible theory. In a quantum world, in an interdimensional world, whatever. Guy like Kevin Costner was thinking, I don't know. In this timeline, I want the guy to be saying in the field, my character, if you build it, he will come. One option. Because I'm thinking about the dad at the end, and I don't know, he and they, we'll get to the they later. We'll figure it out as it is now. Or I'm going to go with, if you build it, they will come. What? If you build it, they will come. What? Meaning Joe Jackson, Ray Liotta's, the late Ray Liotta, or, the other guys all coming together out of the corn stalks, right? Let's say both those options are possible, and only one was chosen in this timeline, not where I come from. I must have shifted, or at least that little insert is inserted into my world, as many others like Italy and Sicily and all that stuff, right? What other things, either at a quantum level of atomic bombs, quantum level of health, like the body changing, people coming into this world that the Antichrist, people that are religious may think about this. What would have allowed a demonic being to come into this reality? There are a lot of people who believe that when the CERN powered up, it was going to open up all kinds of doorways to hell and God knows what. There's a Wall Street Journal article, literally headline, saying in 2013, I believe, when they were about to turn on the particle collider, scientists fear they could open up portals and doorways to hell. Wall Street Journal. I'm not saying every journalist out there should bow down and whatever, but it's an interesting thing to think that if we opened up doorways for changes to occur to a movie where Kevin Conner's alter ego in another universe came in here, what else happened that we're not yet seeing the evidence of yet? Scares me a little, to tell you the truth.
Right. No, I think this whole realm is different. Like, just
Different realm.
I think we've discussed this. We don't feel like we're in the same place since 2015. Just things have been off. And then when the Mandela Effect happened, I was expecting a shift in consciousness and humanity, which I didn't know what that meant, but I was talking about it in 2011 because that's all the studying I was doing was showing we were headed towards this shift from the age of believing to an age of knowing, like the whole shift from the age of Pisces into Aquarius.
Evan, I got to ask you though, what do you make of people like Tom Hanks that are in many Mandela effects or associated with many Mandela effects, as we talked about? What do you make of even Sally Fields being in more than one? Her brother is at CERN. I mean, these are very weird juxtapositions. What do you make of all that? Not that you could answer it in one answer, but what do you make of that? What do you predict they'll say when I grill the Fields on this issue?
I don't think they'll want to talk about it, but I don't necessarily think that they know what's happening. Like a lot of people in the community think that they're in on it, or they know, like all these different people like Hanks, he knows about this. And so I don't know. Maybe, perhaps he does. I don't know. I don't think they're going to want to talk about it. But it is really strange that Hanks and Fields, and they acted together as mother and son in Forrest Gump, that they're both so tied into this, especially with her brother being at CERN and all. It was always weird the past 6-7 years I've known about that.
It's funny how life goes sometimes as a producer and writer. You get lucky sometimes. It just turns out one of my good friends in the film business has hired Robert Zemeckis for movies. So I'm hoping that he will help me lock Zemeckis to an interview. And I'm really looking for that again. So the shooting hopefully begins in December, if all goes well as today looks like it will. And I really believe that Zemeckis is a key interview. He's all over the idea of what we're talking about here. So Forrest Gump, just the movie itself. He's supposedly in all these places inserted into these events. He's inserted into Lyndon Johnson going, "Oh, thanks for showing me your butt." And, I got to pee in front of JFK.
Right.
It's amazing. When you think of the dynamic here, the juxtaposition of issues, the movie's about a guy, he couldn't be in all this. One person who could not have all that happen in their life. He's being inserted into these events. Zemeckis went in public when the movie came out. I believe, didn't he do Contact as well with Jodie Foster? I believe he did. Robert Zemeckis did the scene where he chose Bill Clinton and he inserted Clinton into the movie the same way he inserted Forrest Gump into those scenes in the movie he did, the other movie. So Zemeckis is a great guy. Are you kind of doing the Mandela Effect in your movies? I mean, it's weird. Think about it in a way, right? He's not really doing it, but I'm saying he's playing up the idea that you can insert people into scenes.
We're actually experiencing with the phenomenon. He's playing around with what we're seeing with the phenomenon is what you're saying, yeah.
In the 90s, I thought it was simply he was clever. He's using technology today to insert actors, and he even went public, I believe, and started saying how he did it. It was a very good technical skill back then to shoot Donald Trump, to shoot actors for Contact sitting around Bill Clinton, to have Forrest Gump standing next to a young George Wallace, trying to stop the segregation stuff. It's interesting stuff, don't you think? You ever think of that?
Yeah.
I just thought of it today.
No, I've never really thought about how he was playing around with what we're seeing with the
Well, Evan,
phenomenon.
I'll tell you why I have to get ready for my interview with Zemeckis. I'm planning ahead. I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to interview this guy about the Mandela effect? It's going to be different with him than I would do with Sally, than I would with Tom, but I plan to do all of them. So imagine you see soundbite, which is why we are trying to keep the budget fairly robust, because we just can't cheap out on these things. You know what I mean? If you got to interview Sally Fields and she doesn't want to do it, in one part of the country, and I got to travel more than I want, it's one of those type of things. You have to just really look at your budget and say, who can you afford to interview? How does it relate to everything else? It's one of those.
That brings something to mind. This is not just a United States phenomenon. This is a global phenomenon. So how much of the documentary do you envision encompassing the global phenomenon that we're talking about? I mean,
It is called in all my documents to the distribution company, okay, have been exactly what you just said.
So do you plan on interviewing someone who is bilingual, Chinese, American? What Mandela effects are in your culture?
Evan, what was your exact question? Because maybe I didn't answer it correctly.
How are you going to encompass the fact that this is a global phenomenon in the documentary? Are you going to go to a bilingual Chinese speaker and say, what?
Absolutely.
Because I know a bunch, I speak Spanish. I know a bunch in the Spanish culture. In Mexico, some things in Mexico and in Peru. I know there are huge Mandela effects. I don't know the Russian or Chinese ones, but I know there's people making videos about Russian Mandela effects, Chinese Mandela effects.
We know it's a global phenomenon. We know it's a global mystery because we are Americans and it's only 2022 and this thing came out, really took steam in the last 5, 6, 7 years. We will do all we can to do as much research on the other countries as we possibly can to show that we know it's a global phenomenon, but we know it is. We know that. But the question is, how do you articulate Italian? And I've done enough research on the different countries, so I know we're going to show this. But anything you or anyone else out there in the Mandela Effect research YouTube community want to chime in with Russia, China, France, Belgium, whatever countries, we do need help there. There's no question. We have the language problem. We've got the iteration issue, how it was said. There's one guy, though, that I did find on YouTube, but I'm going to have to bring him up to you, and maybe next time we do a stream, I'd like to get him involved. So I'm glad you brought up this issue. I believe he's in Germany. He's done a fabulous job. And he does show American versions, and he shows some from his country, and he shows, but I believe the Mandela Effect research in other countries is behind because Americans, we are like, obsessed with potential conspiracies and mysteries and whatever. And, it's been the Donald Trump era. So 2016 on, even though we have another president in, I think the country's really bought in on this. You can't trust anybody. And, it's gotten insane. Even my kids go, Dad, you've done shows that are like sort of about potential conspiracies. Why don't you believe in stuff? Because most of it's BS. That's why. Most of it's BS. This whole conspiratorium. It was a word now. It came out. Conspiratorium now. Well, I used to be afraid to go into a meeting and someone would say, hey, Bob, you doing a show about UFOs? Do you believe in that conspiracy? I'd be like, what conspiracy? I'm doing a show. It's called UFOs, the best evidence ever caught on tape. Where is the conspiracy there? The person that shot the camera and his wife? What? So I stayed focused on home video, things that people were capturing back in the day. And to this day, it's a better evidence of UFOs than anything you've been reading about lately. So all I can say is UFOs may exist, but what are they? But there's no doubt the evidence exists. It's things are captured on camera that are not a conspiracy. The conspiracy might be the government knows more about a video shot in Ecuador or a video shot in Phoenix or a video shot in Carp, Ontario, Canada. That's right, teasing the future of my work, shows I've done, and other investigations I will do again. But here's the deal. They're not conspiracies. Conspiracy would be like you kill President Kennedy in a 6-car or 4-car, I don't know, and you then covered it up. You're the government, and you covered up the evidence. I was watching something recently where they showed 4 years ago, they released a whole bunch of new documents about the JFK assassination. And all of it was like the CIA and other intelligence areas of our country were following Oswald. Oswald was a focus of their investigation before he was killed. How'd that happen? People don't even want to know. It's like, hear no evil, see no evil. It's like the documents came out, Evan, that prove without a doubt whether it was 4 or 6 in a car, whether Connolly was shot with a magic bullet or not. So we'll get to that later. But there is no doubt that Oswald, in this timeline, in this time frame right now, okay, he was a study of the government's call it the intelligence community for years. They were watching him. They even had a camera taking pictures of him in Cuba, in Mexico. In Mexico, shortly before the assassination, going to meet with a Russian guy who headed up the KGB's assassination area. And he slipped through the cracks, got to Dallas, got a gun, killed the president, killed the cop, and then got killed by Ruby. You can't make this up.
No.
But those evidences, Evan, came out in this timeline a few years ago. There's a major documentary that was done, not in America, apparently, or not done by Americans. Canadians did it. And it's a very good thing to see, by the way. So why didn't people study those documents? Again, where are we, Evan? What dimension are we in? Can I ask you a question? And I'm going to be so dumb here before we end today.
No, sure.
What is the place of the Earth right now? Okay. So the Earth is in an arm of what? The Milky Way? Is that what they say, right? Give me what you think is going on here with the Earth. Right back down to where we are in space. Let's get to that.
Well, a lot of people claim that the people experiencing the Mandela Effect come from the Sagittarius arm, where the Earth was larger and the continents were further apart. Everything does kind of seem slammed together when I look at the globe now, so I kind of fit in there. And then they say that, well, our consciousness or whatever has shifted to a spur of the Orion spur. And you can see Neil deGrasse Tyson, and you can see, help me with the other guy.
Carl Sagan.
Carl Sagan. Both of them say that we are on the Sagittarius arm, and they are both incorrect. So those two men getting it wrong.
I'll hold it up. Oh, I can't do it. It doesn't work. Sorry.
Yes. Oh, there, kind of, yeah. So having those two men misremember where we are in the universe or in the galaxy, it's more evidence. I mean, they should know where we are. That's part of their profession.
I hold that book up for a reason. Not only did Carl Sagan inform me a couple of times on things I worked on, which he commented on the book, which I appreciate. He didn't mention he contacted me, but he included in his book before he died. And the book is called The Demon Haunted World. And what his point in the book was that you can study these mysteries, but you have to be really smart. Don't just accept everything and do your homework, right? He also taught my college astronomy class because the professor, I think his name was Dr. Scarborough, I believe, he didn't want to teach anything. He just wanted you come in, he plays Cosmos for an hour, you leave. 13 episodes in, he gives you a test, it's over. Carl Sagan taught me astronomy, okay? If you're telling me that watching Cosmos in my college class, okay, if you're going to tell me that I can find evidence that he says we're in a part of space that we no longer are in, I'll go interview his wife about it. That's how serious this is to me. Yeah, so you're telling me, I want to make sure we're clear because I've not done the research. Every time I try to do the research, I don't know what'll happen. It's like, I'll be honest with you. If I have my researcher do it or my researchers do it, I want to be the one to go do some of the stuff myself, right? So I go in and I try to find the arm issue and the Sagittarius. I want to just find Carl Sagan in Cosmos saying what he says, and Neil deGrasse Tyson saying what he says, and then have someone say where we are right now.
Right. No, that should be very easy to do. I've seen both of them say where people remember we always were, and
Why
they say that.
So
they're both wrong.
For the documentary, how come not one YouTuber that I'm aware of or anybody else has found those moments where Carl says it, Tyson originally said it, and now we are somewhere else, according to a very credible person that I can go back to. The other interview I wanted to do, which I mentioned to you off camera, because we need to get the production going for many reasons now. It's like exponentially growing from, Jimmy Kimmel on Halloween night. My other investor is really excited. Everyone's excited. So now, what would you say? How would you direct me in this research? Is there one YouTuber? Because I want to make sure before we end today, I would love the YouTubers like Jacobian, like Daniel, who I love, Scarab. Daniel, great guy. We talked all through the pandemic together. I'm sure I can call him and he'll be involved. So who else could we get involved in the YouTube community that could add so much to this movie? Because I really believe this documentary feature is going to put a new, incredible inertia to the Mandela Effect research. So Jacobian.
Most all of them know me. So comment down below, leave a comment. Bob's email will be down in the more info section. Reach out to us. There's a lot of great researchers in the community that I've spoken with through comments or on live streams over the last 7 years. Most people know me. I was told that I'm one of the most referenced YouTube channels that I never heard so many people say, "Oh yeah, money bags." But so I never gave up. That's the thing with me. I never gave up. It got real taxing at moments, or not moments, at certain months were just, I had to take a break. I took a 2-month break off.
A little break.
Yeah, I had to take a break because this is hard stuff to deal with, and to all the ridicule and everything I've dealt with over the years. And so, I'm excited for this, Bob. I really am excited, and so glad you're coming on with me, talking about all these things.
Oh, my pleasure. Just to recap, though, I really appreciate your work, Evan, and the people that who've done, even is it Cynthia Lawson and people that have done those. I don't want to make a mistake here and embarrass myself. What's that organization
called? The
called?
International Mandela Effect Conference, IMEC. They've had a few conferences. One was online. One was in Ketchum, Idaho. Was their first conference, an actual conference.
We want to memorialize them and give them credit for keeping everything moving forward on this mystery. And it's a global mystery, as I said. Even if we can't get as much of the residual evidence in German or French or Chinese or Japanese or Vietnamese or whatever, we want to try. It's a goal we have. So that's another big thing we want to do. But overall, the headline for today is production should begin in December, starting with the key interviews you want to do. There are many, many other people I've not even mentioned today, and a plethora of people I can't even get into.
Okay, so you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay, so I wanted to bring up the screen share because when we were talking about the insertions, I wanted to ask you about 9/11. Because I did a video on this on my channel, and this totally blew my mind. Now, there's people that read the Dr. Judy Wood's book. She did in 2010, and they said she mentioned this, so they known about it for 12 years or whatever. They knew about it for a decade.
So she did the analysis of the building coming down with explosives and all that stuff, right? So she's claiming that it's somewhere in that research she said a hurricane was off the coast.
Yes. So she talked about this hurricane. Prior to that, I don't know anyone I don't know, but to me, this was new a few years ago. And a lot of the comments on my video, hundreds of comments, people said, "Oh, what? What is this?" So I want you to, let me show you what you're looking at here.
It's very bizarre, Evan, that would be something our media would not have linked together. It's one of the worst moments of our history. Also had a very bad hurricane right off the coast at that point. It's crazy.
This is crazy. So here it is. And right inside, can you see my pointer? Inside
Yes.
this little box is the Twin
I
Towers.
can. Yes,
right
I can.
there. Okay. So we're talking like 3 hours off the coast.
Yep.
And here's the path. So apparently, this is what I've learned. 3 hours before the towers came down over here, or they were struck, here's the hurricane, and then it just almost did a 180. And then it heads off a different direction. Now,
Who did that on the right? Who prepared that?
I'm not sure. There's going to be
That is insane.
There's going to be a lot of things here to look at. So it's called Hurricane Erin. It was right off the coast. Hurricane Erin, E-R-I-N, right off the coast, not even mentioned.
That is insane. That was the same day?
The morning of.
3 hours before?
Yeah. Here it is. Hurricane
I should
Erin,
have been
September
worrying.
11th, 2001, right here, the day of.
So instead of everyone going, it was a beautiful day. It was the nicest day in September we've ever seen. The blue skies, everything. But there was a hurricane hanging out over here. No one ever said that.
You could see the outer bands of the hurricane on some of the weather channels, and they just say, like you said, it was a beautiful day, and there's these huge bands of a Category 3 right out in the ocean. They don't even mention it. You can see it. Well, here, look at this. Can you see?
I can see everything.
All right,
I haven't even heard of Erin.
Let me blow this up. All right, so
What's
can
incredible?
you read all this and see what we're looking at here?
See, I see it all.
Hurricane Erin.
Yeah.
Here it is, right off the coast.
It's
It was
insane.
headed towards Manhattan, and then it kind of did like a 150, like a 140, not a 180, but I mean it.
Well, if you never
turned around.
If you never mention Black Tom Island attack in 1916 at this point, it's not surprising you would miss a hurricane off the side as well. It's like maybe the hurricane didn't even exist.
I mean, this here is mind blowing.
That's
This
insane.
image. I don't
That's
know what
impossible.
1439 UTC is. My guess is it's about 5 a.m. on Eastern Standard Time.
So that's the morning before. Everyone's
No,
going
the
to
morning of, Bob. The morning of.
No, I mean it's before the event.
Yeah, like 4 hours before the towers were struck. This is what was hanging out in the ocean.
You know, I used to live in the Hamptons there, right by the Long Island there. And you see like the tip of Long Island, it's the island that's next, it's up in the, you got it, right.
Yeah.
I would be blanking bricks worrying about that band coming to me and hitting me. That band would have been on my mind. You better believe it.
Right. I mean, I never heard anything about this. There was I don't know. It's just odd. No one I've asked knew about this hurricane headed
huge.
towards the towers.
Evan, it's huge. I don't even know what to say right now. I'm a little bit
To
shocked.
me, this is an insertion, but there'll be people from that day that said, "Oh yeah, I knew it was coming," but they said it wasn't.
I'm with you.
They said it was going to veer off, or I don't know, whatever.
And hold on, it does come to mind. Someone brought this up in my research, probably yours a little too, that there are clusters of these Mandela effects sometimes, and maybe this day had a couple. And if you are insert editing in any way, not intentional, whatever's causing this, it seems to be patternistic, like Bob Zemeckis and all these different things that I'm telling you about. It's very strange. That's why I want to interview these people, not just to say, hey, what do you think of you being involved in the Mandela effect? No, let's get into it and see if something could be extrapolated from that interaction like we're doing right now. That's what an interview is about. And we get to edit that and make sure we get the juice that we want. But overall, I want to sit down with Mr. Zemeckis. I want to sit down with the weather people in New York. I want to sit down with the people in history who don't understand why they didn't say Black Tom Island ever. I want to get into all that. Are you kidding me? And then the cream will rise to the top, Evan. You'll see in the movie, in the documentary, the cream will stay up top and the stuff that's less confirming will sort of filter away. That doesn't mean it won't be in the movie, but it'll be mentioned and not an interview shot. You know what I mean? Not everybody. Not everyone's getting an interview. Not everything's getting an interview. We can't afford that. Can't do it.
Right. There's just too much.
Yeah.
Here's some images from another possible insertion we were talking about earlier.
So this is an interesting thing because in 1939, in my world, this never happened. Okay? Because I went to Madison Square Garden where they rebuilt the garden. I think I told you anywhere from 50 to 100 times in my life. Concerts, basketball games, hockey games, you name it. If you would have told me in my life that Nazis would have been celebrating on this spot in Manhattan in 1939 when I was studying World War II like crazy, like I was studying it in college in Nazi Germany, and I call it a pro-American rally, right? It boggles my mind. And before I ever got a chance to meet you, Evan, I came across this on my own about 3-4 years ago. It blew my mind. I didn't know what to call it back then. I didn't think of it as a Mandela effect, but I should have.
Yeah, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And there was someone who he just couldn't handle himself. He charged the stage, and the security, jumped on him. There's a footage you can see of this. And he was arrested for disturbing the peace.
I came across this very innocently. I forgot how. It had nothing to do with any particular research I was doing. And I saw this and I could not believe it.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe
crazy.
it. Yeah. And by the way, New York, people talk about shit like that. We would have been talking about that. And the planes, it's blowing my mind again.
I want to talk about the planes real quick with you. I brought it up to you in the last interview we did, and you were beside yourself with the fact the engines look like they're hanging off.
Take that engine right now. The one on the left. Pull the engine. Take that engine right. Pull it back on the wing.
Right.
Maybe a little bit of the circles seen, and the rest of it's pointing a little bit of pointy thing at the back, and that's it. It's on the wing. It's under the wing. It's under the wing. It's not hanging out separate from the wing. Are you kidding me? Those pictures scare me.
Yeah, I've been tripping off this for years since I found out about it from a YouTuber in Japan.
Just look at it.
Right. Well, the reason we're kind of looking underneath all these planes, if we look from the top side, it even looks more bizarre.
Oh, that's
practically
crazy.
The whole engine is out in front of the wing now.
It's like the plane is riding the engine. It's riding the engine.
You sent me an image, and I'm looking at all these planes, and I'm starting to think to myself, I don't remember these 6. They're on every plane right here. It says, what are these? And then there's a YouTube video of a pilot explaining what these are. And when he explained it, these are the mechanisms that work the flaps on the wing here. These inside of here are the arms, the mechanisms that operate. But I don't recall these. These look just kind of weird to me. They're on all planes now. There's 3 on either side. 1, 2, 3.
Did you include the image I sent you here?
No, it looks like this here. This is similar.
I mean, I could almost accept that when I looked out the window, I could see a little tiny piece of the engine, but that's about it.
Right, but these are not part of the engine.
I know.
Right, okay. They're the mechanisms. You see, here's the engine. Right, like it would be underneath the wing where you saw a little bit in the front and a tiny bit near the back.
I don't know about those flap things are crazy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I almost want to make a new voting video. To me, this is the Mandela effect. These spikes coming off, they're on all the planes, Bob. The pilot is explaining in the video that's connected to this image here. He's explaining how you have to have these to make the flaps work on the wing. But I don't recall these spikes on all the planes.
Let's get the big part though. These engines way in front of the wing like that just flip me out. They don't look right. How is that a mismemory? That's more than a mismemory. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it looks so bizarre. I've been like, here it is. Like there's a fire on this one, but the whole thing is on a bracket.
It's riding the engine. It's like the plane is riding an engine. I've never seen that. Would scare me if I saw that.
Look here, Bob. Here's the wing, Bob. Look at the wing. It says out in front of the wing.
That's
like this
insane.
to me is one of my biggies. This is one of my big Mandela effects.
So then you get into the aerodynamics of a plane, and you get into all that, and you get into what would have been invented. It's fascinating. You could do an entire hour on the aviation issue.
Right. And you're going to have, I would imagine, any modern day pilot, you're going to say, hey, why are the engines all of a sudden? What do you mean all of a sudden? They've always been this way. That's what I imagine all of them would say to you. Now, maybe a retired guy would say, I don't know. See, here's the problem, Bob. I don't know how you're going to get any doctor, any nurse, any pilot to say that, hey, yeah, the kidneys used to be down there. There was a kidney punch in boxing, and you couldn't punch down there. No, they're up inside the rib cage now.
Because you think, I'm sure you're saying, I hope, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that anyone on this timeline now would just be saying, yeah, we've always had our kidneys over there.
And anyone who sees something weird, I don't think is going to be saying anything weird because of their livelihood.
We shall see, Evan. Don't think for a second we don't understand the challenge here. We do.
Okay.
And we are going to take it on with a very serious approach.
I mean, I don't see how you're going to have any doctor say, yeah, the heart was on the left. I learned it was on the left, but now I operate in the middle.
Well,
I can't imagine.
Evan, the good news is in our research, we have found a couple of medical people that are Mandela affected, and they believe what you're saying is true. There's even one guy I found in 2016 that was willing to come on camera and talk about it. So I don't know if he's around, but I'll find him again if I have to.
Great. Okay.
And I love your challenges, by the way. Love your challenges, Evan. Love it. Love it.
Okay. Well, we're tying this up here, Bob. I'm just.
By the way, I meant your challenges for the documentary. How are you going to do that? I say, thank you, Evan, for the challenge.
That's a huge challenge. Yeah. I'm going to be so happy when I hear accredited people saying, yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I can't wait to hear that.
We'll find some medical people that will say, these don't look right to me. Something's different.
Not what they learned. Yeah.
Exactly. That's for sure. There are thousands of people out there.
I think I got an email. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. I couldn't find your email, but you pointed out that this is a definite interview here. I want to read this real quick. There had to be, let me set this up. So here, you know what this is, right, Bob? You're aware.
Cornucopia,
okay,
sure.
The cornucopia. Yes. So here's an artist. Where's his artwork? Here's his artwork. Frank West, which was Weiss when Jacobian made a video, and now the eye dropped. That's another issue. And Jacobian agrees. It was Weiss. Because the only Weiss I know played baseball for the Oakland A's back when I worked for him.
I love Walt your baseball background, Evan. I love it.
Walt Weiss. You know Walt Weiss?
Yes, right? Of course they do.
So I mentally in my mind made a connection between Walt Weiss and Frank Weiss because it's the only other Weiss I ever known in my life. Right. But now it's Wes. But I just had to say that. So anyway, that artist made this in 1973. This, right? Okay, so he did this. It's called Flute of the Loom. This is an album cover, Flute of the Loom. So here you go back. He's been interviewed. This is on Reddit. There's a lot of great information on Reddit. We'll have to go through. But there had to be, I would have no reason to paint the image that way if there had not been a cornucopia in the logo, he's saying.
Right, of course.
The flute takes the place of the cornucopia, but it would not make any sense at all if there had not been a cornucopia to begin with. So
I love it. I love that.
This is great. This is
I love him. So I'd love to get him on camera saying that.
Yeah, we definitely have to look into that.
That's what we're talking. You're producing as we speak, Evan. Look at you.
Okay.
He's producing the show. I love it here, people.
We're getting to my favorite part of this whole thing. I love asking people their memories. I used to love it more. I kind of am reserved, but I like asking people who I know are Mandela affected. Let me put it that way. People I don't know how they're going to react, they get weird on me. But I know you're affected by this phenomenon. And so I'm going to ask you, I got 4 questions here. So we'll tie it up with this. 4 questions. Well, I actually can scroll. Can you see this here?
Yep.
You're familiar with this movie?
Yep.
Chevy Chase. I'm asking you, Chevy Chase, I'm asking you to fill in the blanks.
Wally World.
Right, but I'm going to ask you, now if you get, whatever, you know how this works. It doesn't matter if you get it right or wrong. I'm just checking your memory because I got them wrong before I found out what they are in this reality. But so how would you spell the name of the family? You're familiar with the name of the family?
Griswold.
Yeah, I know them as the Griswolds.
Griswolds.
Okay, so how would you think W what?
A Griswold. W-A-L-D?
Okay, and then Wally World. What's your guess on how Wally is spelled?
W-A-L-L-Y.
Okay, so
just give me my top.
This is why I love this, Bob, because I should not be able to have you spell these both wrong. You got them both wrong. And I had them both wrong my whole life. I love this movie. Here's what, in this reality, you can go check this, Bob. Look up the movie. They're the Griswolds, WOLD. And they went to Wally with a
Forget
EY.
Wally World. No. Forget Wally World. That's not true. Like some of the other Mandela effects, where it's one letter, where it's, if I didn't have all the residual evidence of sex in the city versus sex and the city, if I didn't have residual evidence, I believe, of interview with a vampire versus interview with the vampire, so with Griswold versus Griswold, I'm willing to maybe go, I don't know. Wally World, forget it. No way. I look at that spelling of Wally World, to me that looks like JCPenney.
Yeah, it's got the EY. I remember just Wally, no E. And then
I wouldn't hang my hat on any of those, only because I'm not a necessarily the perfect person to know the difference, because I'm not that big of a family vacation. What is that? What do they call it? Family vacation.
National Lampoon.
Yeah,
Family Vacation.
And Chevy Chase, for me, I had a limited amount of interest in Chevy Chase, but I liked her a little bit. I'm kidding. All I can say is the truth. Yeah, I mean, all I can say is that I don't know, and that's when I have to say Wally looked bad.
Yeah. The fact they call themselves the Griswolds. Walds. It's not, but they should be saying we're the Griswolds. This is the spelling, Bob. Wold. I don't know. So that kind of always bugged me since I found out about it.
Griswold sounds weird to me too, but I wouldn't hang my hat on that. I can't. I would be disingenuous.
Okay, second one. Are you familiar with this item?
Etch-a-sketch.
Yes. Do you notice anything, just looking up here, do you notice anything wrong or missing, or does this look right to you?
Magic Etch-a-sketch screen. I'm willing to say that could be my memory somewhat. I don't remember the exact, typeface.
Okay, I don't know the best way to present this.
I'm a big Etch-a-sketch guy, though.
Okay, let me get your response then when we come over here. Okay, underneath that Etch-a-sketch we're just looking at, this is the bottom side of it. And it's got etch-a-sketch on the bottom. And then some old newspapers, you'll see hyphen, you'll see hyphen. Me and a lot of other people remember hyphen on the front of the.
Wow.
It always had two hyphens here.
I
know it's a minor detail, but it looks very off to me. It looks very weird.
That's way down into the weeds for me, because I would accept the Etch-a-sketch there. I could not talk about the hyphens.
Okay.
I might lose it on the hyphens.
No problem. Yeah, it looks very wrong to me and others, but that I can understand.
Well, I love the cornucopia guy. I love that.
Yeah, the corner. Okay.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Great. I'm so happy you sang it that way, Bob. I'm so happy you sang it that way.
The guys are too big for his bed.
Right. Okay. So BJ, obviously you're familiar with the song. Are you ready to get blown away? As you know, the Mandela Effect has the power to do.
If that word is not raindrops, keep. If the word is not keep, I'm going to bite this microphone.
All right. Now let me get this straight here. The name of the song is Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. That's the name of the song. However, you go to YouTube right now.
Kept falling on my head? Are you saying that?
You go to YouTube right now, and you're going to hear B.J. Thomas back in 1969, I think it was.
It was one of my favorite songs as a kid, so don't go do this to me now, Evan. No, come on, Evan.
I set this up. I got a little something extra here. Scroll down. All right. Go to YouTube right now, and you're going to hear Raindrops Are Falling on My Head. are falling on my head.
No,
That's
no,
how
no,
the
no, no.
song starts. Bob.
No way.
100%. And check this out. You can go listen to Dean Martin, Michael Jackson, Bobby Gentry,
They say
Dionne
keep?
Warwick, Tom Jones, Burt Bacharach. They all, and a slew of other covers.
Keep, right? Keep.
They all say keep. All these people start the song.
Mandela Effect. Boom.
Boom.
That's a huge
100%.
one.
It is so
Did
weird.
not know that one, and I love that song. And that is my song of my childhood up until when I was a teenager, and I really started to play the guitar really good. This was my song.
It
No
is
way.
So bizarre. So bizarre.
Raindrops are falling on my head.
That's how the song has always started since 1969.
I remember it so well, the way it just comes right out. Raindrops keep falling. That is just.
And you're in great company
today, Evan.
You're in great company. Look at all these names here, Bob. They all sing keep. All of them.
Is he alive?
Now, who's that?
BJ. Hey,
yeah, I've seen some.
BJ Thomas
I'm
alive.
not sure if he's. Yeah, I'm not sure.
B.J. Thomas was born August 7th, 1942, and died May 29th, 2021.
Oh, wow. Just last year he passed.
Oh, my God. Well, we can go back to the
we
record.
can probably question a whole bunch of people who sing that very popular song.
Hold on, let me
all
take a
these
shot.
people sing keep. You know what? I researched this for my video. I could find nobody who said R. No cover. I listened to 30 covers. No one said R. Last night, when I was prepping this, I found a person said R. So I found one person now out of
he's from a
40,
different timeline.
50, yeah. Out of 40 covers, only one person
There's
sings it
got to be-
correctly.
But unless the universe has gone completely wacky on every universe or multiple universes or multiverses or whatever they're called, there's got to be people here in this timeline who will remember raindrops are falling on my head. But that's not where I come from. My universe knows it to be raindrops keep falling on my head. In fact, R is making me mad now.
When we get
I'm getting mad.
go YouTube this song, and you're just
I have no doubt
shake
you're
your
right.
head. You're just going to shake your head.
This
I
falls
swear.
into this is like Jacobian showing me for the first time the guy from Chili Peppers, Red Hot Chili Peppers, singing, "The City of Angel." It's like, you got to be kidding me.
City of. Okay, we're going to finish this off with the
I
final.
love these.
question.
I love you. Can go all day with me on these. I love.
Oh my gosh! Maybe we'll just do one because see, this is the thing. This is the most important thing to me about the Mandela Effect.
I know it is. I know.
This is like a little deep dive.
I know.
Most people don't do the deep dive, but you know that.
I know.
That's
I know.
why.
I'm well aware.
That's why this is such an incredible phenomenon. It's so much more than Oscar Mayer and Sex and the City. And
Oh
stuff
my
like
God!
that.
It's so far beyond. Those are the touchstones people have kind of focused on.
But that's what so many people think this is about. It's just about insignificant little things, but it's not.
No. These
Okay.
are
All right.
I know that.
We're going to finish this off. I'm going to ask you about 2 pickle brands. Are you familiar with Vlasic pickles and Clausen pickles?
Absolutely. I'm a pickle freak, but I have a new pickle I'm eating right now. Shout out, and I'm not going to do it, but there's one. There's one that you need to go. You want to stay away from the yellow dye, people. If you're a pickle person, those each have the yellow dye, but we'll get to that later. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you to spell.
No pickles.
I'm going to ask you to spell Vlasic pickles right now.
Oh my God.
From memory.
VLASIC.
Okay. And then can you spell, you don't have to spell the whole word Clausen. What's the first letter of Clausen pickle?
C.
Okay.
And there's no way you're going to tell me it's not C.
All right. So this ended with you getting them both correct. You got both of these correct.
Wow, my
Now,
God.
I've done videos on both of these. Those look so
I would
bizarre to
choose
me.
Bubby. By the way, Bubby's doesn't have the yellow, and Bubby's isn't great, but they don't have the yellow. So there you go.
I've been eating pickles my whole life. I love pickles. Let me tell you my memory on these. You got them. You have. See, now here's the thing. We both are experiencing the
know.
effect, but you remember these the way they are.
Well, hold on.
You know
I found
they
it-
were this.
I found the documentary that will show you better than I could. I did a short documentary on it too, on the JFK thing with the 4 and the 6. I think I found a really good one to show you. We have this, Evan. 95% we're the same, but 5% we're not. And that's just so weird, right?
Right. Yeah. I remember two S's. When I first saw one S, it was almost as weird as J.C. Penney with that extra EY. It just looked foreign. This still looks bizarre to me now.
So that's why I'm going with your spiritual thinking, that it's not our body if I'm getting this right, it's not our body essentially that left the dimension. It could be our consciousness. And you brought the other consciousness in only partially as I did, or vice versa. It doesn't, one of us is doing it on some of these.
I think our consciousness is like split off and we're bouncing all around. I don't think we have any idea what's happening.
So yeah, some of us are congruent mostly, and then we splinter off a little bit. And other times we're so diametrically opposed, we're another universes, but other times we're not. And I think certain people are. I read some things just before we end today. I read some things on the internet when I first started that I could not believe. Ironically, the 4 and the 6 was one of them. So 4 and the 6 is one where I was just like, how could anyone believe? But you're one of those. But 95% of the other ones we're together on. How weird is that?
I just remember 4.
So
I don't remember 2 women at all. There's not 2 women in the car for me. I know the governor was in the car, but to me, he was in the front seat. There wasn't those 2 other guys in the front seat.
The governor, right? There's no Secret Service, and the governor's there. This is great.
I mean, the governor was still there, but anyway. Okay, so I remember a K for Clausen. Now I want to show you this here. You can go to newspapers.com, and here's the C you remember, Clausen Pickles. This is a 1979 newspaper.
2 S's up.
New York. Yeah, Oscar, they got Mayer, so this is all current reality stuff. You come here, it's Clausen with a K, Pickles, 1985, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Go back a sec. Go back.
Clausen here. What's that?
Where'd you find this?
I pay for a subscription to this, a yearly subscription. This is newspaper.com is an incredible resource for finding.
Did I see Oscar Mayer spelled the way I remember it with an E?
No. They have it as M-A-Y.
I see.
No, but we can plug in. I can put in Meyer here. You can see it just like they can see it this way on other newspapers. They've been printing all these. See, look at all these Clausen.
Clausen's weird. You remember a Clausen like that?
I remember like that. Never a C for me.
So you know there's residual evidence of your spelling.
Yeah, look at I'm going on and on with the newspaper.
That's a great one.
Different newspapers.
That's a great one to show. See, I love. You know who's good at this stuff? Shout out to Daniel again. Scarab.
He's really done a lot with newspapers.com.
He's very good. We're going to see how much research we've got to pull together. It's an amazing amount. It's an unreal amount. It's unreal. Love it. I love this.
Need everyone in the community. It's not, a lot of the things I found out was through other people. I mean,
it's so true. Again, to the shout out to the Mandela. Again, a shout out to the Mandela Effect community. Please, these are ones Eric's pulling it together right now. We need all of these. No matter what staff of people I can afford to put onto the show, we can afford to bring in. There's never going to be enough people to cover all of this. There's Oscar Mayer, the way I remember it.
Yeah, the way I remember it.
See, we're going to get into this now in a big way. We want to show the Mandela Effect community for what they've done to keep this alive, Evan. We really want them to understand. And the easiest way for us to bring them into the show is talk about ones they found and ones they've really, really affected by. So we want that input from them very much. Okay. Let's make that clear. And please edit out.
Reach out to Bob. His email is going to be down below. Please reach out to Bob if you're someone who's been researching all this stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean,
and one last thing, there is a press release going out for the feature documentary on the Mandela Effect called Mandela Effect Fact or Fiction. And it will probably be leading to these articles and other postings and even appearances of me talking more about it. So if you do get compelled, please get in contact with us, okay? Please. Great stuff, Evan. Amazing.
Look at this, 26,671 matches for Sally Fields in newspapers. 26,000.
I love your analysis. We're going to have to find a way to memorialize your findings, Evan. We're going to have to find a way to memorialize the amount, the numbers, do some kind of an incredible graphic sequence. We're going to have to really sit with our researchers, with you. And you're going to have to document, no offense, you're going to have to work here. No, you're going to have to document for us a lot of these
I
residual.
spent years looking at this, Bob. Look at Burt Reynolds, Sally Fields with an S right here in a 1978 newspaper.
Would you
It's
say-
all over the place.
Would you say both you and Daniel have been documenting most of this?
I was huge on newspapers.com, but I know Scarab was as well back in 2017.
Love it.
He's done a lot of work with newspapers.com, as
it.
has other people, but I forget who I found out about this from. Maybe, actually, I'd have to go look at my videos. I think 2016, I was going through newspapers.com, just like I'm doing with you now. I've done this in a lot of my videos. There's so much in newspapers.com. Oh, they just making mistakes. Yeah, but there's mistakes all over the country, all over the newspapers. Why so many S's? Sally Fields. It's all over the place.
Wherever I've seen the word field, like I knew this guy Field was a researcher on a show I worked on. Every time I saw the word field, I always thought of Sally Fields and go, yeah, that's like Sally Fields, but no S. I always think to myself, the word field for a name looked weird, like a field. You know what I mean? Like a baseball field or something. I'm really into baseball. And I can't believe you're a bat boy for the it's amazing. It's an amazing thing. I've been bringing you into this whole thing has been incredible. Cool.
Well, I'm happy that I get to do this with you, and I'm happy to be a part of the documentary. Okay, so I think we've covered quite a bit here today, Bob. Just like last time, I had to make it 2 parts. There's maybe 2 parts also. I'm just so blown away that this is actually finally happening. And any final words you have as we close this up here?
No, just as we get ready to go into production, which is when we start shooting, this is the time for everyone to really contact Evan or contact me, because everything we base, the way we base our interviews and who we're going to shoot, a lot of that comes down to the residual evidence and the people that are presenting that residual evidence. So it's almost incumbent upon me as a producer to say, if you have any possible input to this movie, the feature documentary called The Mandela Effect, Fact or Fiction, this is the time. Don't wait until you see more press releases or wait till you're more talking to the media about the movie. Now's the time. You're sort of in the production with us now. You're becoming part of it. And the time window is kind of small. And again, the investment potential is still there. If anyone contacts me between now and Friday morning, there's a chance we can get you into one of the investment brackets, the investment packages. But it doesn't have to be quite as much as the earlier one, but we're not really trying to lower it. What we announced earlier is still the packages. So if you're interested, if you know people that want to get into the film industry, and like I said, I can't ever promise 100%, but if you knew the rate of return or the return of investment, it's called ROI, return on investment, you might be kicking yourself one day for not being involved in this movie. There are a couple of that I can mention in emails back and forth that have sort of the proof that this is going to be big, and I'll be glad to share that with you, but I don't want to mention it publicly without some confidence and confidentiality.
Great. Yep. And I can't wait till we do this again. One last thing in closing I would like to say is, speaking to what you were just saying, I know this is going to be great. I know it can be. I know it's mind-blowing. It's so big to me. I've devoted 6-7 years of my life to this. But I'd like to finish this off by saying that if you walk into any building and there's 100 people in there and you ask them the Snow White line, mirror, mirror on the wall, or you ask them to sing It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Mr. Rogers' song, I would almost put money on the fact that only about 5% are going to get it right. And that just shouldn't be the world we live in, but that is where we're at with this.
So you're
Most
saying
people would get those wrong.
So you're telling me right now, you call it wrong. It's funny because I call it right. You're telling me that what is wrong is right. You're telling me that if they all go, it's the neighborhood, wrong.
Wrong.
You say it's all the
Mirror,
ones you
mirror, mirror, mirror on the wall.
No, it's magic mirror. Wrong. I say, see, I think of it as we're right. They're wrong.
Right. Yeah. But history's on their side. If you go look at what it always was, all on their
Right.
side.
My brain went to what I remember as my reality, period, but I lived. But I have to go now to the internet to see what the world today thinks things are. I don't think they are. And I have proof in some of it. But that's the key, Evan. We have the proof. Not on every one. But when you collectively call it a preponderance of evidence, as opposed to beyond a reasonable doubt, a preponderance of evidence, I think the Mandela effect will come in. Yes, it's real. There's really something going on here. It's not misremembering. It's some kind of phenomena occurring here.
It's not cognitive illusions. It's not confabulation. It's not
That's where we are.
misattribution of memories. Like all these crazy terms. It's just, oh my gosh.
Well, maybe in the next stream, we'll talk about potential subtitles to Mandela Effect, the Mandela Effect, fact or fiction, ... There's always usually kind of a subtitle on some of these things. I've run a few by you today, earlier today, not on the stream, but I will definitely bring them up now to people because I love the input from the community. I do. I really do. A lot.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. I can't wait till we do this again. Thanks a lot.
Look for the press releases, everybody. Look for the mentions in the media. That's what I mean.
All right.
Thank you. Bye, Evan.
All right. See you later.